We are now once again joined by David Stelzer from AppCharge. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Now, we've talked often, you and I, London and all over the place, I doubt, no doubt at this point. So I'm not going to make you do the introduction slug line of who you are, but one of the conversations I've been having a lot with people is about the D2C market. It's maturing slightly. A couple of years ago it was a nascent thing, and now we're knowing a little bit more about it. I understand you're interested in that area as well. So,
of course.
How have you found the market developing for you folks? How has it impacted what you're doing, and what promise does it hold at this point, 2026?
I think it's one of those things. It's becoming a necessity for a lot of companies. So as things have progressed very well with the Apple and Google lawsuits, with Epic, and we now have some clarity in terms of what can be done, what can't be done, and people move now to a lot of off-store transactions through an MOR or a merchant of record, I think it's important to realize that the direct-to-consumer option that goes along with that is more than just what the MOR is. It's more than just payments. It's the ability to really have what D2C says, this direct-to-consumer transaction, this relationship that you can create, this access to the information, and kind of like a two-way street that didn't exist before or hasn't existed for a very long time. And this means of developers and publishers being able to take that power back for themselves.
Well, since all the changes to regulation, from all the way from back to GDPR up to where we are now, there has been this restriction. And the thing with the D2C market means that in order to participate, they have to kind of sign something off, and you have to opt in. And therefore, you are able to now kind of, I guess, reclaim some data that perhaps you didn't have access to prior, which I'm sure is valuable. But there is also this aspect where I've been talking to folks about the community it tends to engender. So, do you find that in your experience that is a truth as well?
Of course, the community is your main means of really talking and bringing them knowledge really about what it is that you're doing. And you want to activate that community so that they're kind of like this living, breathing thing that's interested in your IP, that wants to play your game, that's talking about it, that's engaging with it and whatnot. And then when you get into D2C marketing beyond that, you're activating that community further. You're directing them to a place where they can go and interact with the people who are actually making the game. They can get better deals on the things that they want. My hope is that eventually these portals, these web shops, these web stores eventually become more than that, right? They become this portal for all things that you're interested in for that IP. So let's say you have a very successful digital game IP that makes its way into linear media. You now have a place to go where you can talk to your audience about that linear media. You can share that with them. You can have physical goods that you sell through there. You can give them additional value or other rewards that they wouldn't otherwise be able to get. Engage with loyalty programs, etc., all through this portal that is what I would call the ultimate goal of D2C.
How do you minimize the friction? Because there is this thing where people are happy, they trust the app store, they're inside the app, they're making their in-app payments, and then suddenly it wants to push you outside to this third-party place with a whole bunch of branding that might look like the game, or if it's not optimized very well, doesn't reflect the game, and people start to hesitate. How do you make sure it's a smooth thing?
I think that there's different kinds of people who want different kinds of transactions, and that's okay, right? So what we're seeing is in the D2C market, if you can move even like 20 to 25% of your traffic into D2C, you're doing very well and you're saving a good amount of money. But there are people who are more interested in just the easy, quick transaction of, there's a sword for sale, I'm gonna go buy that sword, click, they do so in the game. However, you do have people who like to spend a lot of money or are looking for value, and so a lot of times people who play and need a pack of gems or coins or something for that, they might be more interested in the offer that's being given on a web store, right? And so they're being trained that they can play on their mobile device, but they can go pay somewhere else if they want the value proposition. But if they do want the quickness, they can still go through the normal means of doing things. And I think at the beginning, all of these things have a certain amount of friction, but as you train the muscle memory that more value is had somewhere else, it almost becomes like it's more friction for them to spend more money than to go and get the value, I think.
I've also been talking to folks where, and something I hadn't considered myself, where if you're pushed to an alternative app store, a direct-to-consumer store that you've built yourself, you can introduce the notion of a cart. You can actually have multiple payments. You can have this, and I'll grab this, and I'll grab this item. And that's something which, baked within the App Store system. Basically, you make an in-app purchase or you buy a bundle. Yeah. And that's a different way of consuming the product as well. Are people taking advantage of that already? Or
people are taking advantage of that. And I had some interesting meetings while I was here as well about, could we put alternative versions of payment within the web store? Could we have free cash options? Could we have pay with gems options? Can we do tasks in order to pay for things? And you couldn't do that within the App Store. It's something that the developer would have to approve and authorize and do, which they're going to do through their own portal.
And I'm obviously another topic that people are talking about is rewarded UA. It seems to be the thing that everyone's responding to. Do you think it's an essential thing now? In many ways, the D2C is a sort of a form of rewarded.
I would say to be seen still, right? Like it's definitely a very popular thing right now. It depends what kinds of rewards you're giving. There's a way to upset the value proposition. If you give away too much free things up front that people then come and cash in, but then they don't return to actually play and spend money, do you upset economies, or are you actually giving the right value proposition for what it is that you're trying to achieve? I think we're still trying to figure those things out and see how they work within the market. But there's plenty of companies that are here that are doing exactly that. And each of them have a slightly different proposition about how they do it.
What would you say to people who are cautious about the D2C prospect? Because as quickly as this legislation has been, dreamt up, or the restrictions have been loosened a little bit,
Yep.
You know that Apple are going to come back this year. They're going to try and monetize the link. How was it going to try and get that 30% back somehow? And everything could change again. You'd build a store for nothing.
Yeah, I think they're always going to try to get something back. And as of January 26th, even, Google has a new fee that they're going to try to put back into to the App Store. That is, if you're going to link out like direct payment links or anything like that, you'll have to register. And then they're going to say what they believe is that reasonable fee according to the court order. And then we'll see if that fee is actually reasonable or not. But if you're doing things and you want to do something easy and you want to do something fast and you want to test it without having too much investment, do the payment links now while you still can. It's like a 2 or 3 day integration. You'll see immediate results on it. Your users will just push a button. It takes them to the payment link. It looks like they're still within the game, and you'll save all that percentage while you still can. And it's a good gateway to say, okay, I now understand how this direct to consumer stuff is working. While I'm doing that, I can build a web shop in the background. It will take a little bit longer. I can customize it, or I can have a fast to market one that's more templatized. But the payment links is a great way to get started.
And as far as the rest of the year is concerned, what are you looking forward to in 2026? Are there either things that you guys are planning specifically? Are there stuff that you're planning to launch or announce? Or are there general things that you're looking forward to happening within the system?
I mean, I'm at a new company now since October. I'm really excited for the growth mode that we're in. I'm really excited as we start to onboard new and bigger customers. And I look forward to our business continuing to grow and expand into areas that we might not have thought of in the past. So as we look at, what could the PC market hold for us? What about consumer apps and other types of things that can benefit from the types of things we're doing with both MOR as well as with D2C?